The vast blackness of space shimmered with stars. A fleet of sleek metallic ships emerged from hyperspace. Their dark, angular designs glinted under distant starlight. This was the Kytharian armada, a force built for conquest. General Vraxith stood on the bridge of the flagship, the Dreadnought, feeling the energy pulse through its red-orange core. His heart swelled with pride. Victory was near. Today, he boomed, addressing his crew. We bring glory to Kytharia. The humans of this planet are weak and unprepared. Their defenses are laughable. The Kytharian ship vibrated with their cheers. Many were eager for battle, driven by honor and the thrill of conquest. Vraxith smiled at their enthusiasm. The Kytharian culture thrived on military strength. They believed only in might and valor. Vraxith's segmented exoskeleton gleamed, each part a testament to his battles fought. Yet he felt a flicker of doubt as he gazed at Earth through the ship's viewing screen. It appeared small and colorful, with green landscapes and blue oceans. He dismissed it. Their primitive technology was no match for Kytharian might. Scouts reported back. The humans possess outdated weapons and ships. One commander said, his voice tinged with arrogance. Their defenses are no match for our assault formations. The crew laughed. They expected an easy victory. Vraxith felt the thrill of conquest surge within him. Prepare to engage, he commanded. His voice was steady. The Kytharians were ready to unleash their heavy assault machines. But just as the fleet began to move, a blip appeared on their sensors. A single human ship, the USS Valor, broke through the atmosphere. It was small compared to the Kytharian fleet, a speck of metal against the vast backdrop of space. Vraxith watched, intrigued. The Valor shimmered under the sun, its surface reflecting light like polished steel. The ship's hull had seen better days, but it stood firm. The Kytharians could almost hear the hum of its engines, a sound that whispered resilience. The crew of the Valor sent a warning. Their message echoed through the void. This is Earth. You are entering our space. Turn back or face consequences. Laughter erupted on the bridge. They threaten us. A young pilot named Zithra exclaimed, eager to prove herself. With her boldness, her segmented shell gleamed like polished armor. She dreamed of glory, of battle. Vraxith regarded her, pleased by her enthusiasm. Do not underestimate them, he cautioned, though his voice held more confidence than concern. They will soon bow, but a flicker of unease tugged at him. Why would a small ship warn them? The humans had access to archaic technology, yet they dared to challenge a Kytharian fleet. It was absurd. Vraxith brushed aside the thought. The humans would learn their place soon enough. The Valor fired a warning shot. It lit up the sky, a brilliant flash of light. The Kytharians watched, startled for a moment. The shot barely scratched the darkness of space, yet it was a reminder of humanity's unexpected spirit. With a frustrated wave of his hand, Vraxith ordered his fleet forward. Ignore their threats, show them Kytharian strength. Each ship followed, engines roaring to life, their metallic bodies slicing through the cold vacuum. The dark hulls moved in perfect unison, a display of power. The Valor stood its ground, but its defiance sparked something in Zithra. She admired the ship's stubbornness. The crew of Earth had no concept of the war machine that approached them. They seemed oblivious to the storm that was coming. Would they really fight? As the Kytharian fleet advanced, Zithra's pulse quickened. She could almost feel the energy of battle tingling in the air. Victory was within reach, yet that little voice nagged at her. What if the humans had something hidden, something the scouts hadn't seen? Vraxith's gaze remained fixed ahead, his mind racing with plans. He envisioned the glory that awaited them. Each conquered world was a step toward greatness. But as the USS Valor held its position, he couldn't shake an inkling of doubt. This was no typical encounter. The Kytharians were powerful. They had heavy war machines, siege tactics, and overwhelming firepower. Yet the humans displayed a spark of tenacity. Vraxith dismissed it, focusing on the glory of battle. The Kytharian fleet surged closer to Earth. The air hummed with anticipation. Vraxith sensed the tides of change. In the heart of steel and honor, humanity stood, ready to cast its own shadow against the might of the Kytharians. As the distance closed, the stars blinked, the silence of space heavy with promise. The Kytharian ships prepared for battle, unaware that within the heart of humanity lay a resilience they had not yet encountered. The USS Valor was more than it appeared. It would challenge everything the Kytharians thought they knew about strength. The Kytharian fleet loomed over Earth, their ships casting long shadows across the planet. General Vraxith watched from the command deck of his flagship, the Sovereign Blade. His segmented exoskeleton shimmered, reflecting the cold lights of the control panels. The impending battle stirred a feverish excitement in him. He was certain that soon Earth would kneel before the might of Kythar. As the USS Valor approached, a silence settled among the crew. Minutes ticked by, heavy with tension. Zithra, the eager young pilot, sat at her controls. Her fingers danced over the interface, heart pounding. This was her chance to prove herself. She had dreamed of this moment, facing an enemy, earning glory. But what lay ahead was different than she expected. The Valor moved like a comet, bright and bold against the dark expanse. It fired a warning shot, a bright flash streaking through space. Vraxith dismissed it with a wave of his clawed hand, signaling the fleet to prepare for attack. He couldn't fathom that this tiny ship could pose a threat. Yet Zithra felt a strange twinge of doubt. Then it began. The Kytharian ships unleashed a barrage of fire, bright and brutal. Explosions lit up the void. The Valor withstood the onslaught, its shields flickering but holding. Zithra watched in awe as the human ship weaved through the incoming fire, defying their expectations. The Kytharian sensors blinked in confusion. This was not what they had anticipated. Vraxith's jaw tightened, retarget. He barked, concentrate fire. It was an order born from frustration. The young pilot felt this tension ripple through the crew like a storm. Zithra's excitement morphed into annoyance. She had imagined a swift victory, but the Valor stood firm against all odds. The human ship danced like a leaf in the wind, unpredictable and stubborn. It refused to yield, drawing out the Kytharian's anger. Why won't it break? Zithra wondered, her thoughts racing. She had only seen strength defined by raw power. Now she faced a new kind of strength, resilience. She gritted her teeth. If they could not defeat this ship, how could they conquer the people? The Kytharian fleet recalibrated their targeting systems. Zithra's heart beat faster as she readied herself for the next attack. But the Valor was already moving, darting in unexpected directions. When the Kytharians fired, the ship slipped through the shots like water through fingers. The human tactics were unlike anything she had seen, a whirlwind of creativity against Kytharian precision. Unconventional maneuvers, Vraxith noted, his tone darkening. The steel walls of the command room felt closer, oppressive. This was more than mere technology. It was cunning. It was human ingenuity. As the Kytharians unleashed their full assault, the Valor responded with feints and twists. Zithra could hardly keep up. Vraxith's frustration grew. The Kytharian military thrived on discipline and strength. They respected power, not this unpredictable strategy. Zithra felt torn between her pride in her people and an unexpected admiration for the humans. She began to wonder what drove their refusal to surrender. The battle stretched on, chaos unfolding like a dark flower. As Kytharian ships whirred and lit up the void, Zithra watched in disbelief. The Valor was not just fighting back. It was protecting itself with an instinct that felt almost alive. It was as though every movement came from a deep-seated will to survive. The Kytharian fleet was relentless, but now they faced something greater than just technology or numbers. They encountered the essence of humanity. the will to endure. Zithra's confusion turned to admiration, a respect she hadn't anticipated. The human spirit shone through all the odds. The battle raged for what felt like hours, but the conclusion was unclear. Kytharian confidence was shaken. The young pilot's thoughts spiraled. Could they truly conquer a race that fought with such heart? She remembered her dreams of glory. Now they felt hollow against the reality of this fight. The Valor took a hit, but instead of retreating, it surged forward, blocking a shot aimed at a fellow ship. A human pilot sacrificed their position for their comrades. Zithra gasped, a chill racing down her spine. This was more than a battle. It was a display of selflessness. Strength does not only lie in power, she realized, the concept forming like a flickering light in her mind. The Kytharians had always believed in honor, yet this act of bravery turned the idea upside down. The humans fought for each other, not just for conquest. In the cold void of space, as explosions echoed like thunder, Zithra felt a shift within her. Before, she had seen their enemies as mere prey. Now they were a force to be reckoned with. The realization began to crack the foundations of her beliefs. General Vraxith, too, began to feel the shift. The Kytharian ranks wavered, confusion growing among the warriors. They had come to conquer, yet they now faced an enemy that would not break. The humans stood their ground with unexpected courage. As the battle continued, Zithra's heart raced. She understood that in this moment, strength was defined not only by the ability to wield a weapon, but by the will to protect. Against all odds, the Valor continued to resist, embodying the essence of humanity. The Kytharian commander felt the tides turning. What was once a sure victory became a struggle for understanding. In that moment, he too felt the stirrings of doubt. Could they truly claim superiority over a race that fought with such tenacity? It was in the chaos of battle that Zithra's admiration for the humans grew. They were unpredictable and strange, but there was beauty in their resilience. Yet, amidst the roar of engines and the blaze of weapons, a profound truth settled over the Kytharian fleet. The heart of humanity lay not in their technology, but in their shared spirit. The Kytharians would have to face not just a battle, but a reckoning, a realization that strength came in many forms. As the first revelation unfolded, the Kytharians began to see a new path, one that questioned everything they thought they knew. The battle was far from over, but the tides were shifting, and in that there was hope. The battle raged on in the void of space. The Kytharian fleet, sleek and powerful, recalibrated their targeting systems. Metal groaned and whirred as the ships adjusted to catch the elusive human vessel. Each Kytharian ship was a fortress, a testament to their industrial might. General Vraxith watched on the command deck, anger bubbling beneath his steely exterior. The USS Valor danced among the stars. Its hull shimmered with colors that shifted under the darkness, reflecting the starlight. The human crew moved with purpose, their eyes focused and breath steady. They maneuvered the ship with an unpredictability that baffled the Kytharians. Vraxith had expected a simple conquest, but humanity was anything but predictable. The Kytharian ships unleashed a storm of red-orange energy beams, yet the Valor wove through the streams. It twisted and turned, slipping out of range with astonishing grace. The Kytharian targeting systems, designed to calculate the most efficient path of engagement, failed against this human agility. Vraxith clenched his jaw, frustration bubbling within him. Zithra, the young pilot, felt her heart race. She had trained for combat her entire life, yet here she was, struggling to anticipate her opponent. The humans were defying the laws of war, using tactics that seemed almost instinctual. They feigned their moves, luring Kytharian ships into traps. They baited the Kytharians to strike while slipping away at the last moment. It was remarkable and infuriating all at once. Vraxith's voice boomed through the command deck. "Increase fire, bring them to heel." His orders echoed off the metallic walls, a battle cry that filled the Kytharians with renewed fervor. Yet, as they unleashed their onslaught, the humans countered with unexpected resolve. They didn't just evade, they fought back with cunning. The USS Valor returned fire with weapons that Vraxith underestimated. Explosions rocked the Kytharian ships. Energy blasts collided with hulls, sending shockwaves through the fleet. Zithra's frustration turned to admiration. The human ship was tenacious. It refused to succumb, much like a wild beast cornered in a fight for survival. General Vraxith began to question his assumptions. He had viewed humans as weak, as mere prey, but prey did not fight back with such ferocity. The Kytharians had built their reputation on strength and honor. They respected power, yet these humans were showing them something different. They were fighting with a wild spirit that no algorithm could predict. The Kytharian fleet regrouped, forming a tighter formation. They focused their fire on the Valor, but the human ship seemed to sense their strategy. It turned sharply, taking advantage of the Kytharians' predictable formations. The Valor darted, zigzagging like a serpent, avoiding the barrage of energy beams. With each passing moment, Vraxith's confidence wavered. There was a stubbornness to these humans, a refusal to yield. The Kytharians relied on brute strength, but the humans were showcasing creativity. It was a new kind of warfare, one that demanded not just firepower, but also adaptability. Zithra watched in awe as the Valor executed a daring maneuver. It surged forward, diving beneath a barrage of fire before vaulting upward, launching a counterattack. The Kytharians had not prepared for such boldness. The Valor struck with precision, damaging a nearby Kytharian cruiser. The explosion lit up the dark void, casting shadows across the Kytharian fleet. As the battle intensified, the Kytharians felt the weight of uncertainty. They had expected to dominate. They had expected to crush these so-called humans. But the humans were fighting back, and it was becoming clear that they were not easily defeated. The air inside Vraxith's command ship felt heavy with tension. The walls vibrated with the echoes of war, metallic and cold. In that moment, Zithra felt a strange mix of respect and frustration. She had come into this battle eager to prove herself, yet the humans were forcing her to confront her own limits. They were resilient and unpredictable, traits she hadn't anticipated. With every shot fired, she saw the humans adapt to the threats around them. They were not just surviving, they were thriving in chaos. The USS Valor made another daring move, slipping through a gap left open among the Kytharian ranks. It was a moment of brilliance, one that left Vraxith seething. The humans were not just fighting for victory, they were fighting for something deeper. They were fighting for their home, for their people. The Kytharian commander realized he had underestimated them in a profound way. Desperation stirred in the hearts of the Kytharians. The assurance of victory slipped away like smoke in the air. Vraxith's resolve hardened, but so did his perception. He could not deny the truth unfolding before him. The humans were not merely a weak species ready to fall. They were fierce, driven, and full of the unexpected. As the battle raged on, the Kytharians faced an unfamiliar feeling, doubt. It was a dangerous emotion, one that gnawed at the edges of their honor-bound culture. They thrived on strength and certainty. Yet here they faced uncertainty. The humans were a force to be reckoned with, defying the Kytharian understanding of warfare. Vraxith clenched his fists, feeling the weight of leadership pressing upon him. He had to adapt, just as the humans were. They had proven that strength was not only in numbers and firepower. Strength also lay in creativity and the willingness to bend the rules. Humanity was proving itself as a cunning adversary, and Vraxith had no choice but to acknowledge that reality. Zithra's excitement turned to a simmering respect for their foes. She watched as the Valor continued to fight, dodging, weaving, and striking with purpose. It was more than a mere ship. It was a symbol of human resilience. In that swirling chaos of battle, she began to understand. Humans were not simply fighters. They were warriors of the spirit, embodying a tenacity that resonated deeply. The tides were shifting in this celestial theater. The Kytharians had come seeking glory, but they were now faced with a battle unlike any they had known. With every clash, the humans pushed back. They were not mere prey, but a force of nature. Vraxith stood at the helm of his flagship, torn between his duty and a newfound respect for the beings he once thought to conquer. As energy beams lit up the dark expanse, the realization struck like a thunderclap. The Kytharians had not just stumbled into a fight. They were standing at the edge of a revelation. Humans were not to be underestimated. They were a species capable of rising against the odds. The battle was far from over, but the Kytharians were changing. They were beginning to understand what it meant to face humanity, a force that thrived not just on strength, but on the heart. The battle intensified in the cold, dark void of space. Kytharian ships unleashed a storm of energy blasts toward the USS Valor. Yet the human crews showed no fear. Instead, they acted with a fierce determination that startled their opponents. General Vraxith observed from the command deck of the Sovereign Blade. His segmented exoskeleton shimmered under the ship's dim lights. He clenched his fists, feeling a mix of anger and confusion. The humans he had believed would break under pressure, yet they held firm, their ships moving with a desperate grace. Then it happened. A pilot from the Valor, a brave soul named Captain Jaden, made an audacious maneuver. He spotted a Kytharian warship locking onto a battered human cruiser. In an instant, Jaden pushed his ship forward, blocking the fatal shot. The energy beam erupted against his hull, sending shockwaves through the Valor. Vraxith's eyes widened. His heart raced as he witnessed this act of self-sacrifice. The Kytharians were trained to value strength and power, yet this act of bravery shattered their understanding of what it meant to be strong. The humans were not merely fighting for victory, they were protecting one another. The sounds of metal colliding echoed through the command deck. Alarms blared as human ships continued to evade and weave through Kytharian fire. Every burst of energy was charged with the resolve of their pilots. The smell of burning metal filled the air as the Valor struggled to hold its position. Zithra, the eager young pilot, watched from her cockpit. She had anticipated a glorious battle, but what she saw left her troubled. The humans were not just warriors, they were guardians. Each time a human ship took a hit for another, her heart ached. They fought not just for themselves, but for their comrades. As the battle raged on, Vraxith felt his traditional views of honor crumble. The Kytharians valued strength alone, yet here were these humans, risking everything for one another. Vraxith's voice rang out, commanding his forces to press the attack. But a nagging doubt lingered. What was true strength? Was it merely the power to destroy, or was it something deeper? The USS Valor continued to maneuver with incredible skill. The crew worked as one, their actions almost choreographed. Zithra could see the bond they shared, a unity that flowed through their ranks. When one ship fell, others rushed in to shield the retreating vessels. This collective bravery was unlike anything she had ever experienced. Another energy blast struck the Valor, sending it spiraling. Jaden fought to regain control, his ship groaning under pressure. Yet he wouldn't yield. He barked orders to his crew, urging them to keep fighting. The humans, battered and bruised, wore their scars like badges of honor. Vraxith's frustration reached a boiling point. He shouted commands to unleash more firepower. Metal shrieked as guns turned, ready to fire at any target. But the humans danced around the incoming fire, executing wild, unpredictable maneuvers. They were not following a pattern. They were thinking, adapting, and that infuriated him. As the skirmish continued, an unexpected silence fell over the battlefield. It was a rare moment, one that allowed Vraxith to reflect. He questioned everything he believed. The Kytharians had always seen themselves as apex predators, but these humans were challenging that belief. They fought with heart, not just strength. Zithra, trapped in her thoughts, struggled with her own feelings. She had come here to earn glory, to prove herself as a pilot, but witnessing the selflessness of the humans transformed her vision. She realized that honor was not simply taking lives. It was about protecting those who could not fight for themselves. A sudden explosion snapped her back to reality. She watched another Kytharian ship fall, its metallic carcass drifting lifelessly. The humans celebrated each victory, not with arrogance, but with a shared relief. A bond formed in the heat of battle, stronger than the steel of their ships. Vraxith's resolve wavered. The humans were quick to adapt, yes, but it was their willingness to sacrifice that truly shook him. They were not merely foes. They were something he could not comprehend. The concept of fighting to protect others was foreign to him. What would it mean for his people to embrace such a value? As more explosions erupted, Zithra focused on her own ship. Her heart raced, not from the thrill of combat, but from respect. As she maneuvered to protect her fellow pilots, she felt a surge of pride. She was not just a soldier, she was part of a larger cause. With every moment, the Kytharians began to realize a truth they had ignored. Strength had many forms. It was not only in their massive war machines or their heavy assault tactics. It was in the courage to lay down one's life for another. It was in the bravery of a pilot who would shield a comrade from certain death. The battle continued to rage, but a new understanding settled in the hearts of the Kytharians. They saw the humans as more than mere prey. They began to recognize their worth, their spirit of cooperation and sacrifice. With each pulse of energy exchanged, the Kytharians were left with a lingering question. What does it truly mean to be strong? In the chaotic din of battle, a strange camaraderie began to form. The Kytharians, who had come to conquer, now watched in awe. They witnessed bravery and honor like never before. The humans were fighting with a ferocity fueled not just by survival, but by something deeper. As the clash between the two forces continued, Zithra and Vraxith stood on opposite sides, yet both found themselves transformed. They could no longer ignore the humanity displayed by their foes. The battlefield became a canvas painted with acts of valor, bridging the gap between predator and prey, conqueror and defender. With the engines roaring and metal groaning, the fight pressed on. But the seeds of respect had been sown, forever changing the hearts of those who bore witness. The battle raged fiercely in the darkness of space. Kytharian ships filled the void, their angular designs striking against the backdrop of stars. General Vraxith stood at the command deck of the Sovereign Blade, his segmented exoskeleton glinting with the ship's lights. His pulse quickened as the energy readings flickered across the display. This was it, the command for one final assault. Around him, Kytharian crews prepared for action. Metal clanked as they buckled in. Vraxith could smell the faint tang of hot metal and the acrid scent of machinery under stress. The deck vibrated with anticipation, a living entity ready to unleash fury upon its prey. The humans had shown resilience, but now the Kytharians would crush that spark. Out in the depths of space, the USS Valor moved like a ghost. With every twist and turn, the human ship danced through the deadly rain of Kytharian fire. It employed the same unpredictable maneuvers that had frustrated the Kytharians before. Zithra, the young pilot, gripped her controls tightly. She felt a mix of fear and excitement. Why won't they yield? She thought, frustration bubbling inside her. The humans fought with determination she could not comprehend. Their unity was evident in every action they took. Each time one ship fell, another closed in to protect. Vraxith watched as the humans rallied. They were not merely defending, they were fighting together. A massive flash lit the void as a Kytharian ship exploded, caught in the crossfire as it tried to chase the Valor. Vraxith's heart sank. They fight as if their lives depend on each other, he mused, struggling to make sense of it. With a sharp snap, the Kytharian fleet opened fire once more. Energy blasts streaked through the void, illuminating the shadows. Vraxith ordered them to focus their fire on the Valor. He could not let this human ship escape. Yet every time he thought they had the upper hand, the humans found a way to reconfigure their shields or change their course. The Kytharians unleashed their might, but the Valor held strong. Vraxith felt the weight of doubt now. What were these humans made of? Each time a Kytharian ship collided with the Valor, it absorbed the blow, pushing back with renewed vigor. Vraxith stared at the sight of the human crew, exhausted but determined. It was a raw display of loyalty that shook his beliefs. Suddenly, amidst the chaos, a human pilot maneuvered their ship into the trajectory of a Kytharian energy blast, sacrificing themselves to protect another. In that moment, Vraxith felt a gut-wrenching confusion. What drives them to such lengths? He wondered. The humans displayed an unshakable commitment to one another, a sense of unity that felt alien to he. The Kytharian fleet pressed on, desperate to break the human lines. Yet the more they fought, the more they realized they confronted more than mere technology. They faced a spirit unlike anything seen in the galaxy. Humans fought with love for their own, and that love transformed them into an unstoppable force. Amidst the brightness of explosions, Zithra's heart raced. She witnessed bravery, not just from the Valor, but from all human ships. Each act of selflessness echoed the lessons of honor she had been taught, but with a twist. Human strength lay not in physical power, but in their ability to protect each other. Vraxith felt his arrogance slipping. They are not just prey, he thought, his mind grappling with the realization. The Kytharians had considered themselves the apex predators of the galaxy, but here, in this moment, they faced something far greater. The humans embodied resilience and unity, highlighting a strength that transcended mere might. The battle surged forward, but with each passing moment, Vraxith's admiration grew. He commanded his ships to fall back. The enemy was relentless, but the more he observed, the more respect he felt. If we destroy them, what will we become? He pondered, grappling with the conflict in his heart. As the dust of battle settled, the vastness of space bore witness to the shifting tides. The Kytharians were no longer conquerors, but reluctant warriors who had seen the light of human spirit. The air was thick with the scent of burnt metal and the remnants of energy blasts, a heavy reminder of the fight. In that moment, Vraxith understood the essence of strength. It wasn't just about destruction. It was about the will to fight for one's own. The realization left him in awe. This was not what he expected. He felt drawn to the idea of a different kind of honor, one that respected life, not just victory. The Kytharians fell into silence as they regrouped. General Vraxith stood tall, no longer the arrogant commander he once was. He looked out at the vastness, realizing that he had witnessed the true power of humanity. In their fight to protect each other, the humans had unknowingly forced him to confront his beliefs. Vraxith knew this was not just a battle. It was the beginning of understanding. And maybe, just maybe, it could lead to something more. The battle hung in the cold void of space. Kytharian ships hovered near Earth, their energy cores pulsating like angry hearts. The once invincible fleet stood still, caught in the aftermath of destruction. General Vraxith gazed at the wreckage and the surviving USS Valor. The fierce tenacity of humans had transformed his view of them. Where he once saw prey, now he recognized worthy adversaries. Amid the silence, the faint whir of damaged machinery filled the air. The sense of scorched metal and burnt energy lingered. Vraxith felt a strange mix of respect and confusion. The humans fought not just to survive, but to defend one another. He remembered how a pilot had selflessly blocked a lethal shot. This act of bravery challenged everything he believed about strength. Zithra stood beside him, her segmented exoskeleton reflecting the dim light of the command bridge. She was no longer the eager pilot wanting glory. She felt the weight of this moment. Her admiration for the humans grew stronger. They were unpredictable, yes, but also loyal and brave. Zithra turned to Vraxith, her eyes wide with hope. "We must speak with them," she urged, her voice steady. Vraxith nodded. He knew the Kytharians had to change their approach. The humans had shown them a strength that was not based solely on might. It was born from compassion, unity, and sacrifice. He opened a channel for communication, his voice calm but firm. "Humans," he said, his tone grave yet respectful. "We request a ceasefire. Let us talk." The silence stretched between them, heavy with tension. Moments passed before they received a reply. The humans accepted the ceasefire. Relief washed through the Kytharian ranks. They were not just conquerors now, but potential allies. Zithra smiled. This was no victory in the traditional sense, but it was a new beginning. She felt proud to stand with her people, ready to bridge the gap. The scent of burnt metal faded, replaced by a hint of hope. As both species prepared for conversation, the stars shone brightly overhead. The galaxy held its breath, waiting for what came next. In that moment, Kytharians and humans understood they were both more than warriors. They were beings worthy of respect. The war was over, but a new era had just begun.